Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Pregnant Christian Environmentalist podcast. It has been a few episodes since I did some life updates, and this isn't one of those, but I did mention previously in the updates that I had some stressful sounding situations come up. And since then, I also have started a second birth course, and it is basically all about stress. Well, the opposite of stress, mental health and no fear in childbirth. That has been such a common theme in most of the resources I'm reading, and I'll get into which ones those are. But I think it's getting to be pretty obvious, as much as I didn't really believe it at first, that laboring is very, very mental. Also, that it has so much just to do with your body doing its thing. It's physiological. It's not something we have to tell our body to do. And it's definitely not something we need doctors to intervene in, unless, of course, there's issues going on. But it's been so interesting to learn about. And I'll admit, I had a hard time believing it at first. I just tend to go more towards give me the facts, stats, the science. And so when I hear you can think away pain and you can do breathing exercises, I'm like, okay, prove it. So that's what this episode is going to be about, is proving it. And I am very, very convinced because again and again, I'm learning. It is what people say 80% mental and 20% physical. So, if you're not expecting a baby and you're listening to this, I think this is very relevant for you too, because basically everything I'm learning is blowing my mind, not just talking about childbirth, but what hormones even are and how they affect us so much. And in the previous episode, two ago, we talked about how hormones can fully affect our physical health. And at first, I always thought they just affected our mental health, but they're so correlated. They're physical things. You can actually, and I had to look this up because I'm like learning so much about hormones. What the heck are they? You can actually look at hormones under a microscope. They are a thing, they have form, they are in our bodies. They're not just emotions, like they're a physical thing. It's just blowing my mind. And they do the craziest stuff in labor and obviously just in our overall well-being. I also later in this episode I'm going to have my one of my best friends, Caroline, on the episode, and she used to live here and moved to Australia, and she is a physical therapist slash massage therapist for prenatal moms and postpartum. So very relevant, and I can't wait to hear more about what she's learned about how mental health and emotional strength affects momhood and that postpartum healing. And we're just going to have some fun conversation too. Even yesterday, as I've been thinking about what I want to talk about in this episode, I had a friend send over a blog, and in big words, all caps, the title was Your Level of Pain is Directly Related to Your Mindset. Again, what? If I had read that months ago, I would not have believed it. Now I believe it. There is science behind this, and maybe you don't geek out as much as I do about it, but I need to see the science. I need to see why the heck they're correlated. What I've also learned and never knew is that labor is transformational. It can either transform you in the biggest, most positive way, or it can traumatize you. And I know that's such a sensitive subject. And yes, people have been traumatized by labor. It's not like we can have 100% control in the situation, but there's definitely ways I'm learning to try and prevent that from happening. What's crazy is we are animals, and all animals, when they go into labor, they go into a safe, dark place where nobody's watching and they have their babies. So, how contrasted is that to what we do today in the Western medical system? We go in a hospital, and I read a quote. It is actually a miracle that moms can birth in hospital settings where there's bright lights, there's shift changes with the doctors and the nurses, and there's loud monitors and fear mongering. Like, kind of amazing that we can still have our babies in that situation. But we do see crazy interventions and problems with that all the time. Even just the fact that basically all moms stall in their labor when they get in the car to drive to the hospital. You should try to labor a lot at home. and you could just be fully progressing, but you get in that car. Most of the time, from what they found, is you stall in that drive and your body just says, okay, we're no longer in a safe place. We're no longer comfortable. So labor is stopping. And that can either just be fine and give your body rest, but it can also lead to interventions and people inducing because lots of people think, oh, something's wrong with you. But really, it's just your mind saying, this is not where and when I'm supposed to be giving birth. That is not a safe space. Okay, I can't stop learning about labor. And I keep saying this, I really need to get into the whole after baby comes thing and like the whole parenting thing, the whole rest of my life and learning about that. But it is just so fascinating and so whack what we are not taught and what we're doing in hospitals today is really blowing my mind. But aside from labor, again, just talking about stress, something that I learned in that episode about hormones 2 episodes ago is that things like what I love to talk about, EMFs, pollution, microplastics, toxins, they actually add stress to our body. So the word stress is not just, oh, I'm really worried about something and so now I'm not functioning very well. It is actually something that causes our organs to all start functioning differently. I had to research a little bit more into the science of this all. I went to this Harvard article just basically explaining what exactly happens when we stress. And yes, even Harvard says this isn't hippy dippy, stress is physical. So when we stress, it is a hormone that is released, it initiates flight or fight response, and it causes our hearts to pound, our breathing quickens, our muscles tense, we start to sweat. These physical things happen. And that is because the hormone is released in our adrenal glands and, according to Harvard, can lead to high blood pressure and promote the formation of artery clogging deposits. It causes brain changes, obesity. Basically, what's happening is the hormone adrenaline is released and it causes, basically all your organs to start doing certain things, good and bad. So, sticking with the theme of the title of my podcast, looking at this from my environmentalist brain, I think, all the more reason to hate chemicals and toxins and microplastics because, again, the exposure to them causes stress in our body. It does the same thing as fear or anxiety. And from my Christian perspective, I just think it literally talks all about this in the Bible. Don't fear. Do not fear what's going on in your life. Don't worry about tomorrow. Just worry about today. The only thing you should fear is God because he literally is in complete control. And that sounds like he's a scary being, but if you have Christian background, you understand a bit more about what that concept really means. It's just a huge perspective switch of there's literally nothing to worry about, guys. And that's why I tend to stay on this lighter cloud level of life of it's all fine. Who cares? Okay, I have to mention this. I did start getting a little funky. I mentioned in the last updates episode, yes, we all of a sudden didn't have insurance. It got taken away. We got it back. But that was an insane week of like, okay, we're about to pay how many thousands of dollars at the hospital? And then we had a bunch of car issues, like traumatic car issues, literally a car stolen, and another one had a tree branch fall on the windshield, like some crazy stuff happening. So I did start to get a little stressed. And then immediately in my Bible reading plan, I got to Ecclesiastes, which is a really very interesting part of the Bible. But basically, it's saying, it doesn't matter. None of this matters. Like, come on. And it points out what really matters, like what lasts in eternity. People matter so much. Love matters. But all these little things, I mean, in the end, I'm still gonna have a roof over my head and food on my plate. And that is a very beautiful thing. So, yes, I try to just carry myself in this fearless, low stress way. And it really shows. And I really think it affects my energy and my health. And maybe my health affects my low stress levels. I don't know. But I'm going to kind of conclude before I bring on Caroline about that more and how I just live in a fearless way. I first wanted to talk about birth courses and books. So, first, and I've mentioned this before, Natural Birth the Bradley Way, super famous. Even hospitals have courses the Bradley Way. This is very well known and accepted. And I read through it, and I feel like the theme of the entire book is breathing exercises. Not really. There's so much more in that book, but that's my biggest takeaway from it is the breathing exercises. So I was talking to a midwife and mentioning, like, okay, I read the Natural Birth the Bradley Way, didn't actually practice the breathing exercises when it told me to, even though it said, put the freaking book down and do these right now. I didn't do that. I didn't listen. I said I'll do it later. But I was asking her if she could teach me some, and she seemed to just kind of like shrug it off and be like, yeah, you can do that if you want. Kind of gave me the vibe of like, yeah, that probably isn't going to help you. A lot of moms do that and it doesn't come into play. But I have talked to a lot of moms and they said it absolutely did help. And I think the big disconnect with the breathing exercises, which to summarize is learning how to breathe through uncomfortability, through pain. They said the biggest problem is most moms don't practice before labor. So that's important, but they also don't start in early labor because it doesn't hurt that much yet. You're kind of just distracting yourself, doing other things. And so, what you really need to do is start those breathing exercises once labor begins in the very beginning, because basically it becomes habitual. And by the time things get nuts, you are kind of doing them without thinking about it because you've been doing them for hours. Those are the moms that said, yes, they absolutely made the biggest difference in my labor. No, actually, I've heard that a lot. So it was funny that my midwife didn't get all stoked that I wanted to learn breathing exercises. I'm just saying that to show that there's people with different opinions on breathing exercises. Another different opinion, I would say, is another book I read, and it's Supernatural Childbirth by Jackie Mize. Also very famous, but way more famous in the faith-based world. She is a radical believer, and this book is okay. I read this actually at the beginning of when I basically first got pregnant, and my friend Katie told me to read it. I kept it quiet this whole time. I wanted to talk about it in so many episodes, but I didn't because I was saving it for this moment. I also didn't want you guys to think I'm crazy. I don't care that much. Okay, the whole point of this podcast is I'm going to say whatever I want to say and be super, super honest, no filter. But I feel like we needed some context on this one. So, Supernatural Birth by Jackie Mize, her whole thing is we are not meant to experience pain in childbirth. That is not how God created us. Our body is formed perfectly and beautifully. And if you just remind God that that's how He created our body and pray that you won't have pain in childbirth, you won't. Okay, you can see why I was like a little hesitant to share this. That book radically changed my entire pregnancy thus far. I've mentioned before, I've just been fearless and not worried about labor and just so excited. I'm pretty sure I felt that way before reading this book, but this made me times 10. And so I just wanted to share two testimonies because I haven't given birth yet, so I can't say anything yet. But Katie, who referred the book to me, said that in her labor, every time her contractions started to come on and started to hurt, she would just pray, like yell, pray, Jesus, pain is not for me. You don't want this for me. And she said the pain went away. Okay. And that is a true story. She claimed that. Not to mention, the whole second half of this book is people saying, they prayed away their pain. Okay, so there's lots of testimonies in this book and it's so faith building. But another story, I sat down with my other mom friend and we didn't know what we were talking about. We're just getting coffee together. And she just slyly brought up this book and said, well, maybe you should read it. Basically, it completely changed the birth of my second child, completely different from the traumatizing birth of my first. And I looked at her and I said, "Are you talking about Jackie Mize right now?" She goes, "Yes, this is the best book ever." And she said, yes, with her first, she did not realize she was even allowed to ask God for a better experience, that it wasn't too privileged sounding to ask for that. It wasn't too much to ask, that we can actually pray and believe for and hope for a better, non traumatizing birth. And she said her birth was basically painless. Okay, so that is wild. And I really, really, really suggest this book. It's just, it completely changed my mindset. And it's so beautiful. And it's like tiny. It's a really, really short book because basically she's like, yeah, health schmealth, just pray. No, that's really exaggerating. And she's amazing and really well known. But yeah, she's definitely not. I clearly have a different personality than her because I can't help but research all the health tips and all the breathing exercises and everything I should know about how the body works in labor. She's more like, the body's going to do exactly what it's meant to do and just pray any trauma away. So, very different perspective. And you might have more of a personality like her, but I will declare that I am praying that and I do have faith in that. And God is not someone to be tested. This isn't going to be some test that he's real and listening to my prayers and how my labor goes. You know, I probably shouldn't have even mentioned it on the podcast because she even says, you don't need to be telling people while you're pregnant that you believe in this. This isn't a challenge, you know, this is just something you believe, and you don't need to prove anything to anybody or make people say things that will add to your doubt, because we all doubt, right? So, whatever. I said it, but that's all I'll say. That leads me to the second birth course I started, which is literally called Pain Free Childbirth. And she even says her birth wasn't actually pain free, but she's seen many moms successfully have pain-free childbirth. And seriously, some are like, no, it was really pain-free. Others would say it was super intense. You know, it felt like I was straining my muscles so much, but it wasn't pain. And that is what I am praying for. So this birth course, again, has also been radical. It's changed my entire world. And it's kind of basically everything I've already said in the last few minutes, but I will give her credit for what I want to say, what I've learned about hormones, because this is the coolest thing ever. And again, just faith building and perspective building. I also want to mention that I said second birth course because Riley and I have been doing a birth course that's local, and it's incredible. We just had some friends refer us to it, and it basically just affirms everything I'm learning and saying as well. I'm almost like, I already know all of this stuff already because I've read so much, but it's good to hear it again. And that's another point I wanted to make today is the more I read the same things over and over again, the more faith building it is as well. So I wish you guys could just like listen to this episode and then believe that you can just remove your fear and you'll have a great labor. Like, no, you need to probably hear and read it a million times to believe it, because at least that's what I needed. So Pain Free Birth is a Christian course, but it's not like you have to believe in God. Like, it's very science backed. I would definitely refer it to literally anybody. She definitely talks about spirituality, because how can you not? I mean, every doula I've met, every midwife actually hasn't been a Jesus believing Christian, but they are very spiritual. And I'm assuming that's because the whole process of creating and having a child and raising a child is like, how can you not believe in God after that? How can you not be spiritual? It's just absolutely mind boggling and perfect and beautiful. So there's definitely spirituality in it, which I think is necessary. And this course, I mean, the first one I'm doing is covering everything and every aspect. This one is really focusing on the mental side, because she declares as well, it's 80% mental. She does cover everything else. So I think if you did one course, it could be this one. And I've had a lot of mom friends say they only did this course as well. Just saying, I've also heard about hypnobirthing a lot too. And a lot of mom friends have told me just do hypnobirthing, but I can't do them all. So luckily, this course talks a lot about hypnobirthing, the concept, which is basically the breathing exercises, which is from what I read in the Bradley way, mostly just tightening your muscles a lot or doing the ice cube challenge where you hold ice in your hands and it starts to hurt and you breathe it away and you do these like breathing exercises where you can breathe through uncomfortability. They say flex your biceps or flex a muscle for a long time. It starts to be uncomfortable but not painful. Like working out isn't painful. It's something that you just push through. It's intense, and that's what contractions are supposed to be. So, pain free birth has been amazing. But what I learned mostly from this and hadn't learned anywhere else is about hormones. This is the coolest thing ever, guys. Let me tell you. So, we know that stress hormones can cause disease. They are a physical thing, but very mentally related with the brain, and pituitary glands literally release them. So, let's talk about some hormones and the names of them. The first one, and honestly the most important in childbearing, and I would just say the best one in life, is oxytocin, and that is the love hormone. The trippiest thing is the love hormone is Pitocin. It's a synthetic form of it mixed with saline, and that is what the doctors give us if they want to induce us to have our baby. It's also what they give us to stop bleeding after baby. So, as you can see, we're not supposed to need Pitocin because it's the synthetic version of a natural thing. Our body is supposed to do it itself. So, when does the brain release oxytocin? Well, it's the love hormone. So, kissing, sex, also cocaine, holding a baby, that kind of all gives you an idea of it. Speaking of, so yes, an orgasm can induce labor, and hugging and kissing your husband, I read this in the Bradley way, can literally speed up labor. So, oxytocin is very medical, very lovey dovey, all at the same time. It's crazy. Something to really think about is that it does get transferred to the placenta. So, that just made me think, what am I doing while I'm pregnant? My baby gets oxytocin when I get it. And so, of course, I want to be living a low stress, lovey dovey pregnancy because, of course, I want my baby to feel loved. I want to say her name and make her feel comfortable. I also forgot to mention that skin to skin. So, when you have your baby, that it's called skin to skin, to put your baby on you immediately. And that releases a ton of oxytocin. What's crazy is you can actually, they've measured it like this is how much oxytocin is released when you have cocaine. This is how much with skin to skin. And they're like measurable. It's crazy. So, skin to skin is so measurable, so beneficial that it's becoming a practice even in hospitals. Again, so behind. We've known this, but they're finally starting to say to nurses and doctors, no, that is what needs to happen right after birth because it boosts the oxytocin, which will stop from hemorrhaging, bleeding, and it also causes breast milk production. Sometimes babies have to be rushed to the NICU, and that is when you need that synthetic oxytocin, or maybe you can just make out with your partner that's there, hopefully. I don't know. But yes, that is why very often bleeding gets uncontrollable. Of course, there's other factors too, if you didn't have a healthy placenta, things like that. But oxytocin closes up that wound faster and stops the bleeding. Another hormone, um, these other ones don't have as much to say about them because they're not as cool as oxytocin. Maybe they are, but in my opinion, the love hormone is definitely the best. But endorphins is another hormone. And so a lot of us know what endorphins are. But in labor, they block pain receptors. They physically block the pain receptors. So lots of midwives, and there's even a famous OB that you can look up on YouTube. He used to make his laboring moms dance with their partner or by themselves, like dancing to cause endorphins. It's it's the happy hormone. So things that'll make you happy. Midwives will put on your favorite music, have you dance, whatever. They very directly cause a less painful childbirth. Another hormone is adrenaline. We mentioned this earlier. Why did God create it then? Well, it is for survival. Things happen and we need to survive. We need that adrenaline to kick in, and it can save lives. It can stop labor when necessary, when your body's like, this is not going to be a safe place. And so adrenaline is very necessary for survival as well. But if we can try and avoid it in that pivotal moment, then that's obviously preferred. We don't want to have to go to adrenaline. Then there's also cortisol, the stress hormone, which we've been talking about. So, in conclusion, with all that, controlling our thoughts can control our hormones. That's very, very true. And that's basically this whole course's, I don't want to speak all about the course. Like this should just be well known that we need to work on our fears. And if you're scared of labor, why are you scared of labor? Did your mom or your best friend have a terrible experience? How can you work through that with a therapist? Definitely with prayer and meditation and journaling. Like you need to get over that fear or else it's going to come into play. And again, just in life, guys, fear is never the solution. It's never the best way to live. And so, not just in labor, in life, it causes disease, it causes anxiety, depression, and there are ways out. That is why therapy can be such an incredible thing. So, with that, I've just had this heart of gratefulness doing this course because I feel like I have the biggest head start. I am so grateful to be really low stress and just cruising and happy and excited because that would just suck to have to get over this big hump, this big hurdle of a story I can't unhear. And I've heard stories, I've heard traumatic things. I've even heard of a birth actually just recently in my community that went really bad. And at this point, I'm just brushing these things off. And at this point, I have to completely give God the credit because I mentioned this before. I've been scared of childbirth my entire life. And now, of all the times to not be scared of it, is when I'm actually going to experience it in 2 months. Like, that makes no sense. It doesn't line up. So, it's clearly a miracle from God that I don't have fear or anxiety about it. And that is giving me a huge head start. And it's really playing a role in my decision of home birth versus hospital. On that note, I do think that's why maybe some people should do hospital births because they might feel way more comfortable and way less stress in a hospital. I'm the opposite of that for sure. And I think probably most people are. But it depends on your past and your experience and mindset. Or also, if you do have this huge fear hurdle, you could be listening to this and thinking, she's so naive. But guys, I've seen how Hollywood portrays childbirth. I've heard of 2 home births gone wrong personally in my life. I've listened to a speaker speak about exactly why you should never home birth. I've had the doctor fear monger me say that I could die. Like, I've had it all, and I still just have this perspective. It's a really, really great place to be. I also think, just if I can give some advice, that a heart of gratitude will change everything. And speaking gratitude, I've learned that even though I haven't been there yet in labor, saying thank you, contractions, thank you, Jesus, because contractions do something. They get you closer to your baby, they stretch out your uterus. It's your body slowly but surely getting there. So instead of screaming and clenching in pain, to say, thank you, body, for doing what you're supposed to do, for this baby to have a wide enough opening to come out of. But also, just in life, I've seen saying thank you for situations out loud, like, or just verbally telling people, oh, I'm so grateful for this, or I'm really not worried about that. Okay, I promise I wasn't faking it 2 seconds ago saying I'm not scared of labor just to manifest it. No, I really am not. But sometimes I only halfway am not worried about something, but the more I tell people I'm not worried about it, the more I'm not worried about it. It really, really works. And so just for sure having a heart of gratitude, but if it's hard to say that's what your heart is, start with saying it out loud and maybe journaling it. The last thing I have to mention, I don't know why I didn't start with this because it's probably the coolest, most pivotal moment in my entire pregnancy, is it took quite a few times for me to believe and learn about the euphoria you get from having a child. Yes, you can get it from a cesarean. Yes, you can get it from an epidural birth. I don't want to downplay any labor situation, but I have read it time and time again and had multiple moms describe it to me, but they can't describe it, the euphoria. Then a mom even sent me a silly Instagram reel of someone trying to put music behind it and created this like visual, beautiful, artistic video of what it feels like. But they just all say you enter another world and it's something so beautiful that you've never felt before. And it feels like you're high on drugs, apparently. And it's this feminine, divine energy. And it was described to me like you climb a mountain during your labor and you choose to commit or not. Once you choose to commit to it, like the most rewarding thing in the world, and the oxytocin that's just boosting. And for the first time, this was the pivotal moment without even thinking. And I watched that video and I was having it described to me in my brain. I thought, man, it's such a bummer Riley will never get to experience that. I can't believe that thought just organically went on in my brain. Like my entire life, I've been living, sucks to be a woman. Men don't have to have periods. This is so dumb. Why do we have to experience this pain? Like to live that your whole life. And then I just organically get this thought like, sucks for men, women rock. Like we get to experience this euphoria. That is so beautiful. I'm so glad I had that perspective switch. And I naturally think that now. Like I naturally get to experience that boost of love, of oxytocin, of whatever the heck it is that causes that. And if only that's what Hollywood would portray, because I've never seen a movie show a birth like that. I mean, all you really have to do is look up a YouTube video of a birth with some beautiful music in the background, and I know that's making it cinematic and downplaying like the screams and all that, but that's what movies do, okay? Movies are fake, so why are they only showing us screaming, pain, someone's gonna die, either the mom or the baby, like terrible, and not showing and talking about this beauty behind childbirth and how it's created and how like most 90% of births go, not the other traumatic small percentage. So that got really deep. We're gonna bring it up a notch and lighten the mood. Caroline's gonna come on, and I mentioned prayer, meditation, journaling, and therapy for lowering stress and for working on trauma that might cause fear, which causes pain. Caroline's gonna talk about another way that is a really good practice to help work on those things as well and fix your stress levels, and that is massage. So let's bring her on. Okay, hi Caroline, thanks for joining.
Hi, stoked to be here.
Caroline is such a sweet friend that used to live here and she moved to Australia. First of all, what's your favorite part of living in Australia?
My favorite part about living there?
Yeah.
I would say coffee, but I'm not drinking as much coffee now.
Yeah.
Probably.
That's funny, that's your number one.
I know. I'm like, honestly, the sustainable aspect of
Okay.
it. It's just a very sustainable country. Mm-hmm. It's like maybe how America probably was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But what can I say? I'm in my 20s.
Yeah, when I visited Caroline, I couldn't drink coffee for a while when I came home because nothing compared. And we know I'm addicted to coffee, so it was a big deal.
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, just explain what your school program is called and then what is the goal job? Like, what is the official title of it?
Yeah, so I basically went to school for massage therapy, and we don't really call them advanced diplomas here in the States, but it would be equivalent to getting like an associate's degree, but one notch above that. So did massage school. It's a 2-year program that you do. Okay. And out of it, you get an advanced diploma and become a certified remedial massage therapist.
What does remedial mean?
Remedial is like anything that has to do with like healing, like remedy. Like you
cool.
are I mean, you can be a massage therapist and work in spa, and that is more of the relaxation route. But for remedial, you're wanting to help with pain management, help with certain issues and muscles that a client may have, and you are able to help distinguish and narrow down, heal them essentially. So.
Okay. And is it just like some classes you took on how to do postpartum and prenatal massage, or is that a certain focus of the degree you're getting?
Yeah, so for me, because I just wanted to do everything, all things in massage, the first part of the program, you do all things relaxation. So you learn like a Swedish massage. So if you go to a spa around here, that is likely what they're doing. The second half is the remedial part, and that just helps with, like I said, issues that a client may have. And with that, there's different niches that you can get into, whether that is sports massage therapy, prenatal and postnatal care for moms, and a whole broad of other things. But my program did offer that in the middle of my program, so that was something that I really felt called and really motivated to focus on. And then with that, there's courses outside the program that you can take. So
Okay, cool.
yeah, that makes sense. I don't know.
So everyone knows, you were a pillar in the community here. You were Queen Caroline here. We miss you so much. Also, everyone knows that you always dreamed of being a mom.
Yes.
And I know it's coming soon. I'm so excited. But you haven't had a baby yet. No. So I wanted to know why you had this interest, and did it have to do with some of the amazing North Shore moms you're friends with?
Yes, absolutely. I always thought, oh my goodness, once Rosie falls pregnant, I'm going to fall pregnant.
Yes, it has to happen.
It has to happen. We always talked about raising our babies together. So
yes,
even though I'm thousands of miles away now. But yeah, one of my biggest dreams is to be a mom. And I think it kind of narrows down to my mom having 6 kids.
Oh my gosh.
So my mom has a lot of kids,
about that.
which is wild.
Yeah.
And I'm the oldest, so I'm actually a twin. And the youngest, he is in middle school, so he's like 13. So we've got kind of a bigger age gap, or I guess it is quite significant.
That's a big age gap.
It's a big age gap. But I loved having siblings growing up and having a large family. Living here on the North Shore in particular, though, I have just felt very privileged to be around like-minded people. By people, I mean those who kind of like live more a holistic and simple life. Like if you do live on island, guarantee you can relate as well. You kind of just have to live a very simple and humble life, because not to say that resources are lacking here, but because your priorities are completely shifted and different. You know, you would much rather be in nature than be at the shopping malls, or, you know, you live below your means because it is a little bit more exy here, for instance. But to answer your question, yes, the North Shore moms definitely. Should I have like generalized them? If you're a North Shore mom, you know.
I mean, obviously it's not every mom, but I think I think there's such a contagious culture here.
Yeah.
That of course we're all unique and not every mom's the same. But it's so eminent, like how so many moms here, stereotypes, have usually more than 2 kids, and usually are more holistic. And so because that's so common, if you're not that kind of mom, you joke about how you're not kind of, you're like, I don't fit in with the other North Shore moms, because I have some mom friends that make that joke all the time. So it's not like this, I mean, it's not negative things to say. So.
Right. In fact, I think it was some of us who started calling them, or like labeling them, like sourdough moms.
Yes.
I'm like, I want to be a sourdough mom too, because they're the moms who would literally carry like a loaf of sourdough bread or their sourdough pastry goodies to the beach and feed their kids with it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, how do they have time if they're a mom? You know? But yeah, they definitely played a pivotal like role with me wanting to do massage therapy, because it is more of a holistic approach to healing the body. which I'll get into later.
Yeah, I definitely am curious to hear more about that. Because for some reason, I didn't think of it as what you just said, a holistic way to heal the body.
Yeah, it's
That's
just,
so rad.
more of a hands-on, obviously, physically, literally, a hands-on approach to healing the body. But
Cool.
just like seeing some of these moms conceive quite fast or quickly and like have like for the most part a pretty smooth postpartum experience. I've always been intrigued by that. I'm like, wow, it could happen fast. And then they have a baby and then they show up to like a birthday party or even a church service like fine. And I'm like, how did that happen? And there's a few moms in particular that kind of stood out to me when I was living on island, and they said, oh, massage therapy helped me a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. We have to talk more about that. So we'll get into that more. But I kind of am curious just what your school looks like in Australia. Probably because I'm just intrigued by Australia in general. But is there a ton of people in this program? Is it like a university?
Yes. Yeah, so it's like going to a trade school, vocational school. So the school is small, like, because there's multiple campuses all over Australia.
Oh.
And the program, they have 4 major classrooms, 4 major facilities that they run the program at. And my program is based in the Sunny Coast. Okay. So the Sunny Coast is a smaller town. So in my class, we started off with initially about 17 students. And now there's only 8 of us. So it's great. It's like super like personal, hands-on. You kind of have to be hands-on during massage therapy, but it's super hands-on, and love knowing each one of my instructors. So it's great.
Cool. That's kind of what I pictured as something small.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, Caroline, so backstory, I actually had like a whole quarter-life crisis, and that's why I decided to change my career and go into massage therapy. And we were actually comparing schools and prices between Hawaii, California, and Australia. And it just so happens to be Australia was the most affordable one.
Really?
Yeah. So
I'm actually not that surprised by that.
Yeah, as an international student too. So we're paying international fees.
Wow. I know it was still cheaper.
Yeah, and the program was much cheaper.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's so cool. So what are some of the benefits of prenatal and postnatal massage? Because I know nothing. I really have not been informed of this or told I should go get a massage, except for a couple of friends told me, but no doctor or nurse has told me this.
Yeah, one of the greatest benefits in pregnancy massage is honestly just to help with to regulate your hormones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you don't really think about it until you actually get a massage, or like you are quite consistent in getting massage therapy. For instance, I never really even did massage therapy or went out of my way to go get a treatment unless I was on holiday or vacation. But for prenatal moms, prenatal massage therapy, one of the benefits, it actually helps to stimulate, release your hormones associated with relaxation while decreasing those associated with stress. Like some of you guys would know what cortisol stress is, which isn't good stress. Mm-hmm. So I personally advise some of my clients to see their massage therapist, whether that be me or someone else if they go out of town, to see their massage therapist bi-weekly or every fortnight, would say like at least twice a month. And obviously this helps for your physical well-being as well. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a handful of moms that I know here currently that have been struggling with sciatica or sciatica nerve, which is pain in your lower back. And that's associated with you carrying your baby in your room, right? Yeah. Creating that stress that your body's actually not used to.
Okay, so I lack knowledge speaking here. I have a hard time. I know stress causes physical ailments.
Right.
I've had friends, like the craziest stories where that has been so tangible. It was caused by stress. But it's still hard for me to just pair it. So sciatica is caused by the hormonal changes and stress, or is it more of a physical thing with the uterus pressure and...
Yeah, both. But
Both.
I lean towards more of just the physical realm of it, because lower back pain is common with added weight and the size of your baby.
Yeah.
Throwing your back
Things are
out.
growing.
Right, things are growing down there, you know, and then if you're a first-time mom, I'm sure that's all new and you're trying to, like, regulate your hormones, but also to, like, really care for your body, you know? They say that, I've never even had a baby, but they say you have to be at optimum or optimal health before you conceive, because your body is at your prime, you know? So.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
That makes me think of this week. You've been so sweet and encouraging, how I lost my insurance randomly.
Yeah, that's nice.
And I like to play myself off as this really cool, chill, like, oh. And my brain was telling myself, like, everything's gonna be fine. God will help me pay for it. But I think I was kind of pushing down stress. And then I've actually been having more physical weird symptoms this week, because I think I've been so stressed.
Yeah.
I think I've been really stressed. And yeah, it's crazy, like, how it actually... And then
correlates.
I started, like, complaining about other things to Riley, and completely not related, and I started feeling anxious, and so it was this really weird trickle effect of stress from insurance, but it really did turn into some physical things and hormonal things too.
Yeah.
So, and then massage, it's just blowing my mind to hear, you know, massage therapy can help with that, and it's related, like, even though it seems like such a physical thing, but really you can push the hormones around.
Yeah.
How does that even work? It's crazy.
I really feel for you, and we'll make sure you get a little treatment before I have it. But yeah, I feel like the best way to narrow it down is that if you're stressed, you tend to just feel a little bit more out of whack. You know, you feel out of whack. Then if you're feeling a little out of whack, you feel a little bit more inflamed. I associate stress with crying, because I cry when I'm stressed. And then when I cry, my eyes are puffy. And when my eyes are puffy, my whole body is, like, inflamed. So with massage therapy, this is just me breaking it all down for you. With massage therapy, I genuinely believe that it just helps reduce inflammation, you know, but it just helps me leverage my mood as well. Like, I do struggle with anxiety, and that's something that even in my own marriage, been going into, or now a full year of marriage, that there's been a lot of things that I've been struggling with change, moving countries, you know, managing another individual that I live with 24/7. I've noticed a huge difference when I do go in for a treatment and come out of it feeling refreshed. So how much more as a mom when you're physically carrying that extra weight in your body, but also, like, the pressure that you can get mentally, or you can put upon yourself entering motherhood, you know.
Yeah.
I do know with some of my mom friends, they tend to get a little bit stressed, especially managing little ones already that they do have. You know, so just a believer in taking the holistic approach and getting therapy through hands-on therapy and massage.
That's so cool. Okay, so stress is relieved, hormones are regulated, but then there's also the obvious fact that you are actually pushing out muscle tissue. So
yes, exactly,
it helps with back pain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It improves your circulation. It's actually scientifically proven that massage therapy actually helps increase your blood flow, which obviously helps deliver oxygen and nutrients to your tissue. That promotes healing and, like, a quicker, you know, obviously it's circumstantial, but, like, a quicker, smoother labor and delivery. So when I'm working with my client, I obviously have to really just be mindful that there's changes in their mood and with hormonal changes, you know. So I like to carry an atmosphere that is a little bit more graceful and patient, and I love it though. So obviously so willing to take on whatever a mom wants to share with me during the treatment, you know. And I also feel like it's like a huge emotional release too for mom and bub. They'll come in to the clinic and say, hey, this is what's going on in my personal life, you know, but this is where I'm at, you know. And to be in a space where they can be heard and also physically touched is such a beautiful and probably the most rewarding thing for me to experience. They feel that way too. But I, like, look at this mom and I'm like, oh my goodness, I feel so privileged to be able to touch you, feel you, and, like, see the fruition post-massage therapy.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And especially some moms don't have someone to even share with.
Yeah.
But even if someone does, they have an amazing community or whatever, I feel like that goes really deep as far as the whole physical touch aspect goes.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's definitely a very vulnerable position to be in as well. You know, like we're taught in school to like make sure that you keep things confidential, you know, because it's so easy to talk about it. Sometimes I'll go home and be like, babe, this is what's going on. But also because like as a woman, I also want to be mindful that there is so much that we already struggle with day to day, you know, and that there's things that we need to work through, you know, in our personal life, but also with our physical well-being as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now moving on to postpartum. What are the benefits after birth?
So postpartum, most of my clients are prenatal clients.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But postpartum, it's just helped alleviate a lot of swelling and pain.
Okay.
Backtracking. I do know that some moms here have struggled with edema, which is like swelling on your legs or your foot, for instance. So that is a huge thing in massage therapy that we are trained in to really help with moms. So just be mindful.
Yeah.
Just be mindful
Be
who you get help from, you know. You always want to make sure that you're going to someone that's certified and actually knows how to manage swelling and manage muscle tension.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So postpartum, most of the clients that I do get, like I said, are prenatal clients, prenatal moms, but postpartum moms, they do come in and they come with a lot of stress and anxiety. So like I mentioned earlier, mood regulation is a huge benefit to helping alleviate the stress that postpartum moms do carry. And then the physical things, I mean, I have a list of things that a lot of postpartum moms like tend to kind of carry. And that some of that is weight gain, for instance. And that is kind of, like I said, a sensitive topic. But weight gain is a huge thing. And I'm not saying if you're going to go get a massage that you're going to lose weight. Because that's not going to happen. But what's going to happen is that you just feel more in tune with your body as well. When someone touches you in certain areas, it is very sensitive, you know? And then you realize, oh my goodness, like, well, that's where I'm having pain and I can't work out because that's like a trigger point that really bothers me. I need treatment there. You know, in order to get treatment, you see your physio or your physical therapist, your doctor, you know, or naturopath.
Yeah.
Is who I go to. Or your massage therapist. And we just kind of help aid certain parts of your body that has been hindering healing properly postpartum. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay. Bestie talk. Aside from what you're supposed to say and what you're taught, what do you think is more beneficial, chiropractic appointments or massage therapist? Because let's just say I only had time for one or the other, or I only had money for one or the other. Do you know much about the chiropractic side?
I do. And you know what? It's a bit controversial in the massage therapy.
Really? See, that's why I'm saying, like, okay, between us and every other person that's going to listen to this.
I'm not opposed to chiropractic care because I used to see a chiropractic here in Hawaii, but since now doing massage therapy, I've kind of come out the other end where, and I'm not invalidating any benefits of chiropractic care at all. I think there is benefits to that. But chiropractic care, it focuses on your musculoskeletal system, particularly your spine. And so your chiropractor uses techniques like spinal manipulation to address some of the joint dysfunction. But for us, we help regulate and improve the nervous system. So that's like your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments, and we focus on like more of the, which is a soft tissue, right? To relieve tension or high tension and reduce pain. I know some people see chiropractors to also reduce pain as well. But it is a bit sensitive and tender to me just because I personally know someone who is very devoted in our life that has had an unfortunate experience through chiropractic care. So since then, and now learning more about the body and knowing that there's other holistic approaches to getting therapy, like seeing your osteopathic doctor, you know, or massage therapist, that there's other ways to just kind of help feel aligned. You know, I always thought, oh, I need to go see my chiropractor so I could feel like physically aligned, you know, but in massage therapy, it's just more of a gentle approach.
Yeah.
So that's, I would say, more the main difference.
Yeah. They're pretty different. And it's only on my radar because I've had quite a few moms suggest it to me, but normally I'm terrified of chiropractors. Yeah. But I am also a stats person. How many people actually get bad experiences? Right. It's pretty rare.
It's rare.
So I think it's definitely beneficial, but I honestly don't have all the time in the world, so I want to, you know, make the best decisions these next few months.
As a bestie, I'm a little bit biased as well. Because I just love the ambiance of getting a massage. Yeah. Like, I love going... So much nicer. When I was seeing my chiropractor, I loved going in and seeing her because I actually had a personal relationship with her. But my favorite part of getting the treatment was, like, the 5-minute massage that they give me post-cracking. Yeah. You know? And I'm like, I just wish it was longer, you know? Yeah. Or when she would palpate me and be like, oh, Caroline, like, this is, you know... So yeah, I'm biased now because I am a certified massage therapist or Remedial massage therapist, but I just love the ambience of that. And I think that just helps your overall health, whether that, like I said, whether that is your mental, health and physical stress as well. Okay. So,
I haven't addressed this since a few episodes back, but I was refused a massage during my first trimester.
I know.
Yeah. And, I got so upset. It was kind of funny. It was my hormones for sure. But I looked it up, and a lot of resources said that's actually old news. It's not really. Okay, that's what I was going to ask. What's your opinion on that?
Old news. So I will not give a client who is in their first trimester a massage personally, unless they're close to my heart, near and dear, and people that I trust. Okay. And I only say that because I know some people are a little bit particular about sharing their pregnancy until they reach second trimester. And that is because, you know, just in case they experience a miscarriage or yada, yada, yada. Yeah. But for us, we just don't want to be involved in the risk in case that ends up happening. So it's mainly for that reason. It's not a physical. It's not a physical aspect. I mean, it could be, but there's no scientific evidence that a massage would hinder or prevent or cause harm to someone in their first trimester. So for me, I'm a little bit hesitant, as I just don't want to increase the risk of, you know, if they already have like background health problems or, you know, or potential liability concerns.
Yeah, you might as well protect yourself.
So it's really just about protecting yourself, which is a little bit selfish, but no, I look at it like I'm being selfless because I'm considering mom and bub. Yeah. You know.
Of course.
Yeah. So I'm sorry you had that experience. And now we're going to overcompensate.
It was very minor, and I'm in my second trimester now, so I just have a feeling that this is covered by insurance in Australia.
It is.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
It is. And I feel so privileged. We don't have Australian citizenship yet, but we are working towards that, so that's exciting. And just the benefits in Oz outweigh all the benefits here in American healthcare. And I actually never considered leaving. But yes, to answer your question, it is fully covered.
It's crazy.
We pay quite a bit for our insurance, but that's because we are wanting to fall pregnant soon. So we kind of just get the whole package and all that. But the clients that I do have, they get a pretty good deal. So I guess if this is a vulnerable podcast, I'll share how much I do charge my clients. Yeah. So a standard massage in Australia is about, like, the cheapest you'll find is $80 an hour. So I charge my clients $90 an hour just for an hour treatment.
That's
and
honestly,
then you go from there.
I feel that's the same, if not a little cheaper than here.
Yeah, I think that's like the cheap. I would say that's more on the cheapest side or end of it.
I want to say most massages here are $120. Yeah. To be honest, I don't know what's normal in the States, but in Hawaii, it's hard to find something lower than $100.
Yeah, Hawaii's part of the States.
I know. I always say the States. It's actually a sovereign nation.
I know, it's a sovereign nation.
Mainland, whatever. Well, that's all my questions. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts. I think if you are pregnant, planning to even fall pregnant, to just give it a shot. Go for, a quick treatment, whether it's an hour or two. I always tell my clients, you'll never regret a massage. You just never will, I know most wives, most moms, they go home and they ask their spouse, hey, can you give me a back rub? Like every night I make my husband, I'm like, hey, honey, it makes me fall asleep, Hey, babe, can you make sure that you rub my back tonight so I could fall asleep better, How much more for pregnant moms? How much more do they need that,
Yeah.
And we all deserve a little bit of, treat, a little bit of self-care. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I should add that there are some insurances. All right, I know that there's discounts here.
Yeah.
For prenatal massage through insurance, but from what I've seen, most of the normal priced insurances that everybody has, it's not covered and it's not discounted. But anyways, there are options. For us, but.
Yeah. I always say what you do is your priority. So if you can prioritize self-care,
100%,
go and do it,
So you don't have to pay for pills and supplements later on.
And you don't have to pay the hardship of postpartum either, like the healing and whatnot. But
yeah. Well, thanks for chatting. I'm so glad you visited so you could be on the podcast.
Thanks.
Next time you see me, I'm gonna have a baby.
Baby Snyder.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys.
Okay,
Shoots.
until next time. Shoots.